It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
So the show is here. Happy Hump Day Wednesday, everybody. I'm J.C. Sherbert. He's Phil Mullinax. Hour one is presented by Cindy Searfoss, realtor, Coldwell Banker Kane. Talk about her all the time. Big fan, obviously. So if you're moving in or out of the upstate or have property to sell up there, a house to sell up there, you want to do anything real estate-wise, residentially, because the second hour is commercial, is presented by a commercial real estate company. Give Cindy a call, please. We have many satisfied listeners and customers. She's been with us for a long time. Phil, how is your Wednesday going so far, my friend?
Oh, going well, sir. Just kicking back here, getting a little bad news coming over the wires, if you will, here about the basketball program. So I'm sure we'll dig into that here in a minute.
Yeah, right off the bat, just go ahead and give it to you because the news just broke. We're sitting here preparing for the show, and I was going to talk later about Lamont Paris. He has a big media availability coming up. So, everybody's kind of like Lamont Paris is kind of the man of mystery, whereas like Shane Beamer gets out on Twitter, on social media, interacts kind of the way a lot of people do these days. Lamont Paris is kind of a little more reserved and all that. But from what I'm told, there's a big media availability coming up with him. So I have a feeling, given what I was told about the format of that, you guys are going to get to know Lamont Paris pretty well, at least through the media here in the next couple of days. But here's the bad news. The Gamecocks lost a player to injury already. It's like a broken record around here sometimes with these injuries. As the transfer guard from Coastal Carolina, who I thought, Phil, was probably going to be a starter, Ibrahima Deba will miss the entire season with a torn Achilles tendon. He averaged about 9 points a game, 10 points a game, 8.1 actually last year at Coastal. He's from Stockholm, Sweden. Poor guy had problems getting back in the country for a while, and then this hits. Phil, I've seen these Achilles tendons injuries happen at times, and boy, they're tough. They look painful.
Yeah, Achilles looks brutal, man. Just like we were talking before we got on here, watching KD's happen live on TV. I mean, like that calf muscle just draws up into nothing.
and I told you, I was in 2005, the Gamecocks played Vanderbilt in football, and that was an interesting season. It was Steve Spurrier's first year. A lot of good happened that season. That Vanderbilt team was okay. They had Jay Cutler at quarterback. They came to town. It was a very competitive back and forth game, 35-28. The Gamecocks won. But in that one, Spurrier had finally – that team was not great at running back. If everybody remembers, Demetrius Summers got kicked off the team. Corey Boyd got suspended for the entire year. So it was basically – the first Mike Davis, who ended up being a pretty good player, Bobby Wallace, and Dacus Turman at running back. So they needed kind of a better player, an upgraded running back. So finally Spurrier figures out, hey, Savell Newton, shoot, he can do all three. He can play quarterback, running back, receiver. And Newton had the game of his life. And I'm sitting there in the stands, and a friend of mine actually snuck me into a luxury box for a little while. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Because I don't think I was supposed to be there. But, and especially not up there drinking beer like I was. But anyway, I wasn't raising hell or anything. It just, having a cold beer in that particular box made me feel like, wow, this is good, but it's a hell of a game, right? So Newton, toward the end, Newton, I think he actually scored on the play, tore his Achilles. And right then, when that offense was about to go from it's a good offense because Spurs dialing it up, but they're limited, to like, man, this could really be something. Right then, like the energy was like, oh Of course, that team went on to beat Tennessee on the road for the first time ever. They went on to beat Florida for the first time ever. But they did lose to Clemson that year, and they did lose to Missouri in the bowl. I'm convinced if Newton had not suffered that injury, South Carolina would have probably beaten Clemson. They lost 13-9 in that game. Would have probably beaten Clemson. I think probably would have gone to a little better bowl. So they wouldn't have played that Missouri team. So that was unfortunate, but that was a very significant Achilles injury as well. But Brema, of course, Savell came back the next year, played quarterback 4 or 5 games, and ended up at the end of the year, South Carolina did beat Clemson, and Newton's on the field at safety at the end of the game. And I'm like, wow, Savell Newton, probably one of the more underrated players, I think, in Gamecock history, just because of what all he was able to do in terms of, saving games, saving seasons, that type of thing. But he had that Achilles. He came back from it, so hopefully Ibrima Dima. It's easier to say Ibrima Dima, but it's Ibrima Dima.
That's right. Yeah. And it's already been surgically repaired from what I'm reading too, JC. He's already rehabbing, so this has happened.
Yeah, so he's already rehabbing and stuff like that. So hopefully he'll be back next season. He should have one more year of eligibility. I like this pickup because he reminded me a little bit of a player from way back in the Fogler era named Antonio Grant. And he was also a pretty good shooter, 31% from behind the line, 79% at the free throw line. I know that was music to Gamecock fans' ears, right? If you can hit your free throws, wow. But that's kind of a blow, I think, when you look at kind of how this team sort of sets up this year. I don't think there's a guy on the roster that's maybe a logical replacement for him. Because I do think he was going to start or at least be, the sixth man or something. Tough blow, I think, for Lamont Paris. Just when you add G.G. Jackson and you're like, okay, there's a chance. Now you got another hole to fill, and that's not good. But look for interviews with Lamont Paris on thebigspur.com and all your other favorite local Gamecock media outlets, because that's coming up. Speaking of Gamecock media, tonight at 7, ESPNU, sort of the Hard Knocks of college football, I would guess. I don't want to say it's Hard Knocks because it's kind of it's probably going to be toned down as college ball, right?
Right.
Welcome home. It's going to be a welcome home. A behind the scenes look at Gamecock football tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPNU. Lots of people are talking about it out there in Gamecock land. It was announced. Everybody was excited about it. And I think for those of you that are looking for some inside scoop and are going to watch the practice clips from this thing tonight and evaluate the team, I would caution against that. I don't think they're going to give much away in terms of, here's what our offense is going to look like first game. And, let Sean Elliott and those guys take notes. I don't see that happening. I think you'll have a lot of fancy camera work and editing that goes into it, but good stuff. Bo Mattingly is the guy that's producing it. And I know Bo, if it's the same Bo Mattingly, because sometimes people have similar names, but I used to go on Bo's show back in the 2000s to talk recruiting. I think he's out of Arkansas. So that was always a lot of fun there to talk with Bo, and glad to see if that is the same Bo. I have not confirmed that, so maybe talking out my bahunkas here. But I think, just saying proud of him for getting into TV or whatever. He was always one of my favorite shows to go on. Him and this guy in New Orleans that was on at night. It was an LSU guy. And I would go on with him in the evenings, and he would call Tulane the Tulane Green Men. I'm like, I had no idea that was even still a rivalry there, the Tulane Green Men, I'm like, okay, that's cool that you have a rival. That's cute, whatever. I have some Tulane gear, by the way. I'm gonna wear it at some point. The Green Wave, I've always kind of liked them, and I liked it when Les Miles was like, all right, we're gonna play them again, and And then they got about 4 games into that series, and they're like, no, we're not going to play you anymore. Oh, shucks.
Back to the other in-state opponent, yeah.
all 15 green men in New Orleans like, that's just disappointing that LSU won't play us. So anyway, they used to play at the Superdome in front of, hundreds. And it's, I don't know. I was at a soft spot in my heart for Tulane over the years. But, yeah, so it's going to be a show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. I'm going to check it out. I'm sure we will talk about that tomorrow. I have a poll question up both on thebigspur.com and on Twitter. And it kind of piggybacked on something Brad Crawford was talking about the other day about the first 2 SEC games of the season, Phil. And so the poll question is, which early season game is the more likely win for the Gamecocks, at Arkansas or at home against Georgia? And Brad said Georgia.
Yeah, I'm inclined to be right there with him. Like you said yesterday, JC, I think Georgia is going to be, looking at those first 2, that's going to be the one I've got my money on. Well, figuratively on that one. I bet on the Gamecocks.
Yeah, it's tough,
Yeah, but, you're catching the team early. They've lost all that talent, although I know they've got talent coming in. I mean, Kirby Smart's done a hell of a job getting the recruits in there, but you're going to catch them before they gel. I think that's our opportunity. It's going to be at home. Williams-Brice is going to be live. It should be a great atmosphere for a good upset.
Yeah, it's going to be 99 degrees too with the kickoff. But I'll say this. I mentioned this before. The last 2 times there's been a noon kickoff in the border battle with Georgia, the Gamecocks have won. They won in 2019 in Athens in double overtime. That was an interesting game. I was actually I just come up here to Chicago to kind of stake out my my part-time residence that's turned into kind of a most of the time residence, right? And I lived in this apartment in Bolingbrook, right? And so I walked to the Buffalo Wild Wings, right? And I'm thinking, game day, I better get there right when the doors open. It's 11 a.m. kickoff, and the doors open at 11 a.m. local time, right, Central. And I'm like, it's going to be packed. I hope I can get a seat. I walk in. I'm the only person there for the first half.
I was going to say, yeah, they slap an apron on you and put you in the kitchen, man. You're probably the only guy there.
Yeah. You want to come help us cook some wings? Of course, I don't really like their wings. I like the boneless. They're not the big ones, but we'll talk about chicken wings frequently here on the show. But anyway, so I'm sitting there, and I'm the only guy there. And I'm like, where is everybody? This is college football. And they're like, Notre Dame doesn't play till 5, and there's about 10 guys that come in here and watch Notre Dame. But we let our people take Saturdays off during the fall because Bears. And sure enough, you go into any bar on Sunday, and it's just like a college game day type atmosphere. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's one of the most unbelievable watch party pro atmospheres I've ever seen. Because we don't all get together. I mean, Phil, come on. Me and you, we've had many parties and many get-togethers in our lives. And there's just a full disclosure. Phil's been my friend for 20-something years. 25
years,
24 years, dude. So we've done some time, and so. But Phil, do we all get together and watch the Panthers? Or the Falcons?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, we're sitting up. I'm usually on the couch with a water and a cold compress on my head. One eye open.
I'm convalescing on the back porch back there, man.
Yeah, I have one eye open. Did the Falcons score? I don't know. But up here, it's totally different. So it's a great atmosphere. But anyway, I walked to that game. I walked up there. My now fiance and her son drove over to pick me up and have some chicken wings. And it went overtime. So the Notre Dame crowd was getting in there, and I don't think they understood the emotional reaction I had when Carolina won that game.
Right.
I think they're like, that guy's crazy. Somebody may have called the cops. I don't know. And then so that was nuts. And then, of course, the other game was in 2010 in Columbia, and Marcus Lattimore, and 37 carries, 162 yards. You had Tony Barnhart writing columns saying, I've seen Herschel Walker, now I've seen Marcus Lattimore. And that sort of set a precedent for Marcus against the Bulldogs. I mean, Marcus only played in one game against Clemson, if believe it or not. And that was in 2010. And the Gamecocks, Clemson kind of sold out to stop him that game. I think he only had like 40 yards. And then he missed, of course, the next two with tragic injuries. But that Georgia game, man, 162, 197, and then in the 35-7 game, he went for 110. And a buddy of mine that covers Georgia was like, yeah, he's a grown man. And he was. Well, he was. That day, he was, man, because it was just like Spurs is like, shoot, we just couldn't do anything throwing the ball. Just give it to Marcus.
Just keep feeding Marcus.
And so the Gamecocks won that game 17-6. That was the first of 3 straight wins, the only time it's ever happened in that series against the Bulldogs. So what I'm trying to say is new kickoffs in this series have been good to Carolina the few times it's happened. It's usually a like 5:30-ish type kickoff. I mean, we've had heated kickoffs, 3:30. It's not always a night game, but it's usually not that early. So, and I think Brad, gut feeling, Brad's onto something. On paper, I think South Carolina matches up better with Arkansas. I think if that game was in Columbia, it may be a different kind of feel, Mm-hmm. And I just feel, on that note, by the way, if you want to know the poll results, nobody's buying what Brad's selling here, man. Which early season games the more likely win? At Arkansas, 71 votes, 87.65%. This is on the Big Spur. And then Georgia, 10. Nobody's buying a win against the Dogs on the bigspur.com. Now, I don't know what I'm going to check the Twitter results here directly, but so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're not buying what Brad's selling. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. Twitter's a little closer. 116 votes, 81% Arkansas, 18.1% Georgia. So
still overwhelming for the
they're just there's like, and I get it because Gamecocks have done pretty well. And this has not always been the case. Younger fans of the Gamecocks, it's not always been the case. The Gamecocks have played super duper awesome against Arkansas. But the last couple of meetings, it's not been close. You have the DJ Swearinger game back in 2012. That's the game DJ got 2 personal foul penalties back to back, and then a pick 6, and they got another unsportsmanlike conduct because he threw the ball in the stands. And I think Todd Ellis or Tommy One went, who cares? DJ, and so that was cool. And then you had the 52-7 game out there in Brett Bielema's first year, which was just a reckoning. Probably one of the most complete games during the Spurrier era. I think it's the biggest road win in the SEC, not against Vanderbilt in program history. And 52-7. And Spurrier goes, shoot, I feel bad for Arkansas getting beat like that on homecoming. And it was their homecoming, and just 52-7. And then, of course, Muschamp faced Arkansas and Bielema once. That was in 2017. That defense for Carolina that year also was awesome at forcing turnovers, 48-22. So when you've beaten somebody 100-29 the last 2 times you played them, I think you kind of expect, well, you should go beat him again. Shoot, go beat him again. And I'm not ruling it out. I am not as fired up about a lot of these teams as some of my brethren that cover the SEC, that cover the Gamecocks, whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to temper my expectations about the Gamecocks because I've learned that, when you're in kind of the Carolina bubble, it's easy to kind of lose perspective on other teams. I try really hard to have it. But sometimes you're like, oh, well, these guys are good and they're good enough to start at Carolina. But when you compare to the players, it's not necessarily that way. So I'm trying hard to temper my expectations, but I look and everybody's got warts, man. I mean, I know people just kind of assume Arkansas because they have some pieces on defense, they're going to be fine. I know they just kind of assume that, well, you've got KJ Jefferson and everybody that can just run it up your behind, and so they'll be fine. Kendall Briles, fine, that kind of thing. And I get it. And I get that Arkansas finished the season great last year with a win over Penn State in the bowl. I think they beat LSU for the first time in a while. They beat all their border rivals. They beat Missouri, which you ask a lot of Arkansas and Missouri fans, is that a rivalry? It's kind of a forced rivalry, right? And they beat Missouri, they beat LSU, they beat Texas and Texas A&M. And did they beat both Mississippis? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they won every border game that had a trophy. How about that?
Yeah.
Last year, finished 9-4. Sam Pittman, a lot of respect for him. But man, I'll just be honest. I just don't know. I look at them. I think they're really good. I don't know that South Carolina is going to go in there unless there's problems with the run defense. That could be an issue. As a massive, underdog. At the same time, in typical South Carolina fashion, it would be, one of those Gamecock things where they go out there and lose one and then come back and, pull the upset everybody's talking about against the Dogs, because that, you feel the history of the Georgia-South Carolina series is, every now and then the Gamecocks will jump up and bite them
and win one. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah.
Amazingly enough. So, but people just aren't buying it. The Twitter poll is already up to 82.4 for Arkansas. So,
Jason, could you imagine the hype train rolling if we win 3-0 to start this season? It just,
dude, my hair
crap.
my hair will be down to my shoulders. I'll look like the dude from Independence Day, the Dr. Oken or whatever, with the glasses. They don't let us out much, but yeah, because Phil, look, you go 3-0, you're looking at most likely 5-0 rolling into Lexington, Kentucky, because the next two games are Charlotte and South Carolina State.
And those should be wins. Should be.
Yeah, you never. I don't want to say count your chickens before they hatch, because I don't want to offend anybody with the chicken thing, But so I don't know. I think that's very, very interesting, as far as all that good stuff. So, and Phil, I just got your private chat. I'm just gonna bring it out in the public. Phil's neighbor just fired up the lawnmower right when we went on. So if you hear that, let me know.
Yeah, hopefully that's not coming through. I'm not hearing it in the return, so we should be good.
We have a group of folks that comes by and cuts ours. We have a small yard, and obviously you don't cut the grass a lot, but they're classic about coming through when I'm like on a business call or a show or something, and then the dog starts barking. So it's pretty awesome. The Nana's Porch chat line is awesome, and we're going to get right to some stuff on that real quick. Don't forget Jamie Bradford. We're going to have a reunion. Jamie Bradford from JB and Goldwater.
Looking forward to it.
The inspiration for this streaming show. I mean, when they kind of decided to not have it anymore, I was like, there's a need for it. People like JB and Goldwater. Obviously this is more Gamecock oriented. I say this, it's the Gamecocks and everything the Gamecocks touch. So we'll talk about Clemson. We'll talk about the opponents. We'll talk about the SEC, maybe the ACC a little bit, college football, college sports, that kind of thing. Probably we'll talk about the Atlanta Braves and the baseball playoffs coming up, because I love the Braves. And, so I'll talk about that too.
See the Acuna slide yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, man, textbook. Beautiful.
I'm
not a Braves fan though, but yeah,
you're not a Braves fan, Phil.
No, sir. No, I'm a Cubs fan.
A Cubs fan?
Yeah, I'm a North Side guy, man.
Dude, yeah, I'm sitting there with my White Sox hat on.
Yeah, it eats me up every day.
All right, so believe it or not, I'll say this, and we'll get to the Nana Sports chat line, because we're going to have a giveaway on the Nana Sports chat line today. So how about that? A giveaway. How about that? I don't think I've ever given anything away on the podcast. You know, I'm giving something away today. It's not much, but it's a start, right? So when I first met my fiance, you know, we met at a wedding, and we're going to talk about Star Wars later. Speaking of Star Wars, and this is my friend, you know him, that always got in. He liked Star Wars, but got into Star Trek. I am not a Star Trek guy. I'll be honest. So, and Brian Donahue put that up right there about off the Nana Sports chat line, Phil. We'll show everybody. JC is the king of movie analogies. I appreciate that, Brian. I will never drop a Star Trek analogy because I don't know anything about it, you know. But my buddy loves it, and he's the Mr. Spock of Star Trek fans. But you know, we all like Star Wars. We'll talk about Star Wars here in a little bit. You know, so I met her at a wedding, and I'd never been to Wrigley, right? And and so I was like, well, I'm gonna come up for a Cubs game. Awesome first date, right? I'll go to Wrigley, bucket list thing. If it doesn't work out, I just get plastered in the outfield and throw a beer on her or something, right? Yeah. You know, or she's small enough we could, you know, I just toss her in the. I don't know. Well, you know, we looked and it was pricey, and Memorial Day was coming up, so we pivoted, and she came to Atlanta, and then we went up to Nashville and saw Eric Church, which was awesome. And spent a couple days in the honky tonks and then going to brunch and things like that. And it was amazing. And then we just hit it off for there. We still have not been to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field.
Oh, that one off my bucket list, sir. Yep.
3 years.
I got up there and did it, man. Mm-hmm.
3 years later, we still have not been to a Cubs. We do a Sox game. I've been to Wrigleyville we went during the pandemic to walk around. At Wrigley, and another friend of mine came up, and we took his kids down to kind of see it. Never been to a Cubs game though. And my buddy, who I do another podcast with, who shall remain nameless. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but he's coming up to broadcast a game in September. Gosh, a Bears game, Bears on the radio, and he was like, "Hey, maybe we go to Wrigley that Saturday?" I was like, Gamecocks play Arkansas that day. I was like, I can't, you know, and he was like, oh God, I forgot. And he's like, oh, well, let's just get together and watch that game. I was like, okay. So anyway, we've never been to Wrigley. You and the missus need to come up, and I can finally cross it off the bucket list, Phil. And
let's do it.
Do that. Yeah. Just come on. Well, we could do a 3-gamer, and we can sit in the stands, the first one, and then get one of those rooftop deals, the second.
Oh, yeah.
Those are amazing, by the way. It's, you know, I don't know. Anyway, Nana's Porch chat line.
Yeah, but we digress.
We digressed into Cubsville right now. Happy birthday to Craig. I want to just say that. I actually saw it. I'm friends with Craig on Facebook, and I actually wished him a happy birthday today on Facebook. And folks, if I'm friends with you on Facebook and I don't wish you a happy birthday, that means I did not check the birthdays that day.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
it's not just don't. It's not personal. I'm not dissing you. I'm not dissing you. So, so moving forward, Rodney says, "Good morning, Rodney. Great to have you in the Nana Sports chat line." WTS says, "Never forget talking about Achilles. Kobe Bryant going to the free throw line and sinking 2 free throws after rupturing his. That Mamba mentality, baby.
That's right."
Antonio Grant's from Craig's hometown. That's North Augusta. Clint says, "I am a Green Wave myself, the Easley version."
Oh, Easley.
Now, we know somebody that's an Easley grad. Drove a truck. We drove a truck in college. I have a truck now, but man, you know,
oh, God, yeah.
I can't even do my impersonation to him because it was like the F word, and I can't. Don't say the F word.
I don't know if we've had enough beers to start imitating that.
Crazy. Alex makes a good point. Catch Arkansas sleeping on an early road matchup. And Alex, you bring up a good point about catching Arkansas sleeping. First of all, I'm gonna say this. I don't think South Carolina has to have Arkansas not show up to win the game. I'm just gonna be honest, personnel wise. I don't think now. Can the Gamecocks not play their best or not play well, and then Arkansas plays well and they still win, kind of like against Vandy last year? No. Or East Carolina? No. I mean, it's a quality team. But you bring up a good point. Arkansas's opener, Phil, is against Cincinnati. The playoff participant Bearcats from last year, which, by the way, what a joke of a game that was. I mean, it's like I didn't think they should have gotten in.
It was lambs to the slaughter, man. There was no other way you could see it.
Bama had one of the top passing offenses in America, and all they did was line up and run the ball.
Which they weren't doing all that well all season.
Yeah. They just line it up. And I mean, what a bizarre turn of events for Bama, those two games. It's like they go and they, because some of their games were too close for comfort last season. Arkansas, LSU, Auburn. Bama did not just blow the doors off everybody last season.
No.
So then they go to Atlanta and just light the dogs on fire. Just, blow
shock the world.
I mean, it was awful. And then that Cincinnati game was just like 2011 Bama. They just ran it, played defense, punted. Actually, we did what we had to do to win the game. All right, Nick, whatever. And then I thought they were going to win the championship game if those guys had not gotten hurt. So anyway, I digress. I was talking about Cincinnati. So Cincinnati comes in. Cincinnati has a lot of personnel losses from last year. Their quarterback's now with the Falcons. Luke Fickell's going to have those guys ready, but this is not the playoff system. But my point is Arkansas is going to get sky high for that one. It's a big opener. I believe kickoffs at night. I need to look that up, Phil, what time that kickoff is for Arkansas Cincinnati. But, you bring up a good point. Maybe the Gamecocks go in there and Arkansas thinks that they're indestructible, kind of like they did when Auburn came to town last season, and Auburn whipped them pretty good. Auburn, Mike, everybody talks about Mike Bobo a lot around here, and it's like, Bobo. Well, Bobo had a great game plan in that one and lit Arkansas on fire. I think it was 30 to 20.
30 kickoff on that.
Oh, it's a 3:30 kickoff. So, so the Hog Nation has a chance to get liquored up for that one.
Yeah, lathered up. That's right.
Lather them up. We're calling the Hogs. I've been to a game there once, and it was 2009. And that calling the Hogs thing's legit. And I know some Arkansas people, and I like those folks. I mean, they're really good folks. Probably because Carolina doesn't play them every year. I probably couldn't stand them otherwise. Of course, I have a lot of Tennessee fans that are friends too. They play them every year. Marion says, good to hear JB again. And JC says, who are the Swamp Donkeys? The Florida Gators under Jim McElwain.
Yeah,
my Phil Keith Allsep called them the Swamp Donkey, the Swamp Donkey. Craig brings up Sam Hartman, the Wake Forest quarterback, serious injury, out indefinitely. You hate to see that for him. Really hell of a player for Wake. All right, it's good. Well, that 30 minutes flew by, Phil.
That's nice.
We got JB from JB and Goldwater coming up. We got a giveaway. Don't forget to go vote in the poll. We got the I Help Consulting mailbag coming up. Going to talk some Star Wars. Going to talk a lot more about the Gamecocks. Some Xavier McLeod recruiting stuff. And as always, interaction from you guys right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We'll be back after these messages.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit tonypope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services. All right, we're back. We need bumper music, Phil.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna work on that. And JB was like, "You better give me some really good intro music today." I'm like, "We're not that far along, dude." Yeah. I was like, "I mean, this is we're under construction in a lot of ways here." All right,
let's not generic search for him though. Moving forward, we're getting
so I've got a giveaway. Right, it's not much. We'll maybe have some better. From the Nana's Porch chat line. Maybe I'll get some Nana's Porch gift certificates or something to give away on the Nana's Porch chat line, or chat box, chat room, whatever. But we got a giveaway. And Clint says Metallica makes great bumper music. We have another friend. We have another friend that loves Metallica. Metallica, baby. I like Metallica too, man. I heard that song "Nothing Else Matters" last night. It just popped on randomly. The words to that song are some of the best I think in rock and roll. Like lyrics, if you just look at the lyrics. Anyway, yeah, Metallica's cool, and that would actually wake everybody up. I think if we were a 6 a.m. show, morning show, which it will never happen. Ever. Metallica would be great, but Marion chimes in and says, give him some Eric Church intro music.
Oh yeah.
So, and Clint says, Elton John says it's one of the best songs ever written. Nothing Else Matters. Well, I'll trust Elton John.
Yeah, agreed.
On
Yeah.
songwriting. I mean, heck, that's cool. Okay, so so on the Nana Sports chat line. So here's what we're giving away. No, sorry, that's Mary McCheese, by the way. So somebody on the message board says things I never thought I'd hear JC say. Mary McCheese means a lot to me. So
the things you find out about people when you got 2 full hours to fill, JC.
No doubt, you got Mary McCheese, Metallica, whatever. All right, so we got these handy dandy inside the Gamecocks the show refrigerator magnets. You can also put them on your car. For those of you that know, Carolina Rise, the NIL collective, I operate with my brother. We have the 1801 Club, and we've been buying a lot of car magnets from this place called Sticker Mule, and it's pretty cool. I call it Z Mule, and so they have Mule Mondays. So I don't always need Carolina Rise stuff, but they're 25 freaking 25 magnets for $1, stuff like that. So I've got the Inside the Gamecocks the show magnet, and we'll get your address, and I'll mail it out to you when I'm taking today's Carolina Rise mail to the post office, and for free. I'll maybe include a little koozie or something for you in your prize pack here, because I kind of feel embarrassed just sending that magnet. So here's the question. So Todd Ellis is the last Gamecock quarterback to be drafted, right? Since that time, there have been 2 former Gamecock players to start NFL football games. Who is the most recent one? And if you answered here on the chat line, first person to get the right answer wins the magnet. So, yeah. So, come on, guys. Rick actually laughed at Metallica makes great bumper music. Okay, we have a winner. And it's
that was quick. Y'all are all over this.
It's Brandon Jackson. I'm sorry for using your last name. I probably should just use Brandon. It's Connor Shaw. He started 1 game for the Browns late in the season. Anthony Wright, of course, had the most starts, the most successful pro career. Brandon, I think, Phil, can we private chat Brandon and get his address? Is that possible?
We may be
maybe
able.
Yeah, try to see if we can do that.
Actually, Brandon, shoot us an email at insidethegamecocks@gmail.com, and we'll get that out to you.
Yeah, send him, man. I'll do more. I'll send you a little more than the magnet, a little surprise package or something. Maybe it's Sticker Mule gives me this stuff called mule sauce. I've got like 18 bottles of it because it comes free every time you spend $100 with them. Z Mule sauce. So I'll send you a bottle of hot sauce too, and how about that? But yeah, we're gonna get better and better prize packages here on the Nana Sports chat line. But I think that's really fun. We always like to stay interactive here. Don't forget Jamie Bradford's coming up, second hour, bottom of the second hour, 12:30, to talk on a lot of different topics. I can't wait to talk to him because I don't know if Jamie's done a whole lot of media since they signed off, but I know Jamie's got a lot. I know Jamie's got a lot to say, right. And so I'm kind of like a little fired up about it, So anyway, the I Help Consulting mailbag, and there's 2 ways to get in the mailbag, and I always talk about this. You can tweet to @TheBigSpurPod, and please go follow that account. We stream on Twitter, we stream on Facebook, Inside the Gamecocks. Probably YouTube is working the best, is the feedback I've gotten as far as the streaming goes. But you can get all 3, and so you can tweet at us to @TheBigSpurPod, and we can get it going that way, or you can email insidethegamecocks@gmail.com. And so I Help Consulting mailbag is on. Brent Schobert. I think you're probably a distant relative of mine because I'm Sherbert, to SHURBURTT, and you're sober, so that's cool. Billy the Evil Rooster goes, nobody cares. Oh, okay. He's responding to Will Muschamp met with the media yesterday, right? For the first time since he departed. Didn't say a word about South Carolina and wasn't asked.
No.
I'm like, oh man, having lived in Atlanta, the dog media is very dog focused. I mean, it's like nothing happens outside of Georgia ever, unless it affects Georgia. Some kid crosses the border and goes to Auburn, they're going to talk about Auburn, but they're very dog focused and rightfully so. They just won a national championship. So, yeah, I know people, Billy, I understand the feelings on Will Muschamp. Brent says a little late on the listen, but here's to J.C. Sherbert looking like Fabio maybe at the end of September.
I got that this morning. That was a good one.
Fabio, hey, my fiance is going to love that. Would love that. Unfortunately, while my hair may be flowing and beautiful, and the face obviously is a face for radio, too many beef sandwiches to get to Fabio level by the end of September. But I tell you, Brent, something tells me that I'm either gonna and look, if there's an upset loss, I'm shaving it down. The hair's going away. I mean, I'm shaving it to like
Phil.
I'm about to join the Marines, and all that. But thanks, Brent. That's hilarious there. I like that a lot. So Gamecock Pastor, who we all love, right? I mean, is there a better one of our Twitter followers than Gamecock Pastor?
No, we've got some good ones, but always consistent. Thank you very much, Gamecock Pastor. Love it.
Yeah, thank you. Gamecock Pastor goes, I know Georgia State's going to give us all they have, which means a steady dose of run game. With run D being a weakness last year, who could potentially be a difference maker most for us beginning in game one? Green, Kaba, Williams, other? I'm going to go with Green and Kaba. I think faster linebackers make better linebackers because when you're going to make some mistakes sometimes at that position, and people ask all the time, like, well, why is this guy starting at linebacker? He's slower than Al Poop. And it's usually because he's not slow laterally. And it's usually because his instincts and mind, mind to physical performance is working a little better. In other words, your keys and your assignments, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't know your assignments and you go the wrong direction at linebacker, that's called taking a false step, which most of you probably know. And so if you take too many false steps, you're out of the gap. You heard Muschamp talk about, he got bounced out of a gap.
Out of his
gap control, all that. That's what that is. And so you have to know the position. Now, when you're faster, though, you can afford to make some mistakes because you can recover. That's what I loved about Nakobe Dean at Georgia last year, Phil. I mean, I saw Nakobe
Dean all over the field.
Alabama. I think it was Alabama or Michigan won. Nakobe's way the heck over on the other sideline, and they got him. I don't know if he blew his assignment or he was supposed to be over there. And so what could have been like a 30 or 40-yard gain, Nakobe Dean comes streaking across the field, and I think it was like 8 or 9. And so speed at linebacker really is a difference. And so I think Green and Kaba obviously are faster. I think Brad Johnson's not as slow as people think. I think his speed is really good straight line because he's good at rushing the passer. And if you notice that's kind of Brad's game. But Sherrod's fast and Muhammad Kaba's fast and Stone Blanton's fast and Debo Williams is fast. You've got a lot of faster backers. Now, that's not the only thing that matters, though, in run game. You have to tackle on the perimeter, which I thought South Carolina did a better job of last year. I thought Cam Smith was a pretty good tackler. Darius Rush, the safeties, Jalen Foster. You have to replace Jalen's tackling ability. Hopefully a safety will not lead the team in tackles this year. But
I was going to say it doesn't come from that far back to lead.
but I think Devontae Reed's good there. I hope RJ Roderick has his best season. If not, there'll be some other people. They're talking about Nick Emenware being really good, and
he's one I'm keeping an eye on for sure. Yeah,
6'4", 220. I mean, that's a load coming downhill at safety. And he's good. He's fast too. So you've got all those guys. But I'll say this too: the ends have to play with the run better, and it's not just your guys like Zach Pickens and Boogie Huntley on the inside. I think Boogie. And look, I'm gonna say this: I love Jabari Ellis. I thought Jabari Ellis gave all he had. People didn't notice it in 2020 when he was the best D tackle on a bad defense. Right? He just played his butt off and started last year. And you just wish a guy like him the best because he just kind of got discovered and went to junior college from Lake Marion, South Carolina, and all that great story, right? I think Boogie Huntley is going to be an upgrade to him. And I also think Taka Hemingway could be an upgrade in there. You still got MJ Webb that can give you some snaps. I watched Boogie come a long way during the course of last season. And so I think he's going to be helpful against the run. He made some great plays against the run. Zach Pickens, if he has his best year, he's going to make plays. Can Jordan Strong and Jordan Burch play the run better than last year? What about Dawkins? How is he going to play the run? I think Tyreek Johnson at end is going to be a guy that is going to surprise you against the run. So that's a long answer, obviously, but I think speed at linebacker, improved tackling, and run play by the line, and Gamecock passer, don't count out the ends in this because it's easy to sit there and go, your D tackles are screwing up or whatever. It's easy to play that game. The ends have to play the run too. They're not just pass rushers. So especially in this league. So
you remember Clowney used to chase him back, behind in the backfield from the other side of the line. Just at length and speed just kills.
The worst idea I've ever heard, and at times you could get by with this with Clowney, right? And I think in the pros they definitely do it, but in college the worst idea I ever heard was let's just run right at Clowney.
Right.
and sometimes you get him rushing, you trick him, you get him rushing upfield and then you run past him or whatever, but and that's a sound game plan, but let's just run right at him. Okay. Good luck.
Try it. Yeah.
Vincent Smith's helmet says hello. So, all that good stuff. I Help Consulting mailbag rolls on, and we've got some questions inside the Gamecocks at gmail.com. Brandon, thanks for being prompt with the email there. Randall, that's a snazzy profile picture you got there on your email, Randall. That's a nice tie.
Andy, you got, yeah.
I was, by the way, if you have not heard Mike Leach at SEC Media Days talking about ties, it's worth it. One thing I don't see a lot of mention of, Randall says, one thing I don't see a lot of mention of is the fact that we haven't really had a quarterback who can consistently hit the deep balls. It's Dylan Thompson, and even he struggled at times there. I think Dylan and Jake, even though this may be sacrilege, because I think people kind of look at Dylan as a good time in Gamecock history, and they look at Jake as maybe a bad time. I think they were kind of similar in that. Now, Jake had some games where the deep ball just was not connecting. Dylan was more game to game inconsistency, but Dylan threw the winning touchdown. Really a similar play against Michigan, and Jake missed Shi Smith against North Carolina. So maybe that's why people think that. But I think they both were kind of similar. But yeah, they were not consistent. And he says you could say a lot about Rattler's weaknesses at quarterback, but by far his strength is throwing an accurate deep ball. I've seen this. I've seen it in practices, workouts, games at Oklahoma. Absolutely. I mean, he puts it on a dime. Boom. And hopefully maybe this documentary or whatever tonight shows some of that.
Some of that hitting receivers in stride and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. People are talking up Amarian Brown too. So, that's his game. That's Amarian Brown's game. And
speed kills. Yeah.
Yeah. He his freshman year at Georgia Tech, when he tied Calvin Johnson's record, he didn't have a ton of receptions, but I think he had 30 catches and 7 touchdowns. So it's almost a third of the time he's catching a touchdown. He said last year we couldn't seem to consistently hit those passes. I wonder if we'll see a lot more of that with Rattler and how that could be a really big difference this season with offensive performance. What do you and Phil think? Also, great work on the show. It sounds great. Guests are great and love getting 2 hours every day. Keep up the good work and thank you, Randy. See, I need to read like how people sign their emails before I just look at the emails, Phil. I'm like Anchorman, Oh, San Diego. Because I'll just read it and then I get to the bottom and people sign their emails with like nicknames and stuff, and I'm like, man, I hope I didn't just like dox this person or whatever, or call them by their Christian name. I'm like, it's Randy. I'm sorry, Randy. I should have done that. But thank you for the kind words about the show. I'm having a blast, Phil, doing this.
Same, JC. This has been great.
And I can't wait. It's probably going to get a little slow here because we're going to get in the dog days where there's not a lot to talk about during everybody's sick of talking about practice. But then the season's going to crank up. And, we're going to the day before the first game, it's going to be a celebration, right here inside the Gamecocks, the show, pregame type of deal and all that. Well, Phil, I agree. I think that, like the Clemson game last year, right? And Carolina had trouble getting a playoff in that one. But if you have a guy against that defense that they run, and I've seen it not from South Carolina recently, except 2018. You remember that game where Jake threw for 510 yards. Points. That's how you kind of get a team like that to back off. Is you chunk it deep, because they don't want your band to play. They don't want to give up touchdowns.
With a front seven like that, it's good you got to stretch the field both horizontally and vertically to keep them honest. That way you can get some running off.
Yeah, and then they can't stack it in there and all that. And I think a big problem last year, especially early on, was teams like figured out how to play Carolina and exploit their weakness early. They're like, well, you've got a graduate assistant at quarterback. You've got a guy that came in from St. Francis, and you got Luke Doty, who's got a broken foot. Let's just let them throw, and dare them to throw. And we're not going to let Kevin Harris and Zaquandre White and Marshawn Lloyd beat us. And a lot of teams played the Gamecocks that way. Missouri, to a certain extent, did, but by that time, I think they were more about like just disrupting Jason Brown or whatever. I can't believe Carolina had 250 yards. Anyway, I don't want to digress.
No, yeah.
But you're right. A deep vertical passing attack. And you have receivers, too, outside of Josh Vann that can get open. And here's something that's encouraging about the offensive game plans and the offensive coordinator and the system and all that. And I'm going to take you back to the Georgia game, which wasn't much of a game. But if you think about early on when it was competitive, what was South Carolina doing? They were launching it, over the top of that front. And what did Alabama do against them in the SEC championship game?
Exactly. In Atlanta,
launching it, in Atlanta, it worked. And then they kept trying to launch it in Indianapolis, and they had their third team receivers who were not no longer no longer part of the program. So and Carolina would launch it with Josh Vann. I think Jalen Brooks got a nice catch in that game too, or whatever. Well, now you have Josh Vann, and you have Juice Wells, and you have Amarian Brown, like we talked about, and Xavier Legette can get deep and has speed, and the list goes on and on and on. And Jaheim Bell, dare I say it, tight end, and Austin Steiner. I mean, so there's more options. Plus, you have Spencer Rattler throwing you the ball. I think that could work. I definitely think that could work.
Before we all realized what we had with Jaheim Bell last year, and Vann was really the only known quantity. It's easy to take one guy off the field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're having to figure out which of these three guys is going to be the one where the ball goes to, good luck.
Yeah. And you got a guy that's I think the most important thing for Spencer, though, is to remain poised in the pocket. He needs to kind of play a little bit zen, sort of like Connor Shaw by the end of his career was really good. And this has been a problem with Luke Doty, right? Not knowing how to really massage. I guess that's a good thing to say, massage that run game, quarterback run game, knowing when to run, when to stand in the pocket. And Connor wasn't, he drove Spurrier crazy a little bit early on with that. And I think it's something Doty needs to learn, but I think that's important for Rattler this year to use his wheels when he needs to use them. And otherwise remain in the pocket, because even if the offensive line's better, folks, you're going to play some teams that can pass rush. I mean, that's
your quarterback's going to hit the grass. Yeah,
you're going to, and those longer passes are slower developing type plays, which is why the under center stuff works sometimes, but I don't. I'm not a huge fan of it. But anyway, but I think South Carolina this year wants to establish the run. I think people aren't talking about that enough. I think they want to get the run game going. I think they're going to use the quick passing game to kind of help with that. And then I think they'll take shots down the field. And I think that is a great strategy if you want to get right down to it. All right. Hour number 1, presented by Cindy Searfoss, has flown by. We've got hour number 2 coming up. Jamie Bradford at the bottom of the hour. Great to have JB on. Right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We'll be back after these messages. If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Let's say you need catering, you need a food truck, you just need to get some delicious food to feed some people. Nana's Porch is the place for you. I've known Chris, the owner, for years now. They helped with the Big Spur Golf Tournament, catering it. It was delicious. I highly encourage you to go visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com right now to take a look at their services, their menu items, everything you may need for your event, the professionalism, the food, the taste. It's unrivaled in this space. 336-259-7550 is the phone number. Or again, go to nanasporch.com. We talk about them all the time. They sponsor the chat line here on the podcast, but wanted to tell you about it right here, straight from JC. Tell them JC sent you, and please support this Gamecock-owned and operated business. Also a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Are we back?
Yes, sir.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I gotta get that. I gotta get on that bumper music, man.
That's it. Yeah, we got to get some intros going, but
it's crazy. So, look, Bruce Feldman has his freaks list out. We're gonna dive into this later this week. No Gamecocks on it, but a former Gamecock is on it. I talked the other day about, Eric Wolford when he was here recruiting Northern Virginia pretty well. They signed a guy named Jesus Gibbs, right? I hope it's Jesus. Yeah, it may be Jesus. Jesus Gibbs, Jesus Gibbs. Anyway, from Northern Virginia, he didn't like it at Carolina, right? He kind of got homesick, left quickly. 6'4", 260. They talked about him maybe being a defensive lineman. That previous staff did, even though he's recruited as an O lineman. Well, he went to Towson State, the Tigers in Towson, Maryland, close to his home. He's like 37th on Feldman's freaks list. 6'4", 260. This guy's going to play NFL football. I mean, he was a major, a good get from up there. You know, Carolina's gotten from up there. They got 3 linemen. They got him, and of course he left, but looks like he's doing awfully well. Ja'Kai Moore, who unfortunately has had a bunch of injuries. I think Ja'Kai's best days are ahead of him. And they got Vershawn Lee, who they beat Pitt for. Pitt's sneaky good. The guy, Pat Narduzzi, their head coach, was on staff with D'Antonio at Michigan State, so he's learned how to evaluate. And Vershawn Lee's probably one of the better offensive linemen in the program right now. Would like to see the Gamecocks get more from Northern Virginia since they're doing so well in Maryland and D.C. right now. Northern Virginia is very good football territory. So just wanted to mention the freaks list there. Also, going to talk a little Star Wars right now. And this is also, you can read Bruce Feldman's freaks list on The Athletic if you're a subscriber. I subscribe to The Athletic. I don't agree with most of the stuff that they talk about when you talk about big picture college football, but I also watch ESPN and I don't agree with what they have to say big picture either. But it's good stuff. It's a good read from a lot of these guys. This is one I want to kind of take exception to. Seth Emerson did this a few weeks ago. He ranked the SEC programs as far as Star Wars series, franchises, whatever. And so here's where the Gamecocks were. I mean, I think Alabama got Empire Strikes Back. I'm not positive. Yeah. Kenobi. Now this is snarky, right? And Seth Emerson wrote this. Seth used to work, I think, in the Gamecock market. Good guy, good writer. Really don't often have any kind of issue with anything he writes, but I think this is kind of what South Carolina sometimes is up against when you just talk in general, generalities, whatever. You could probably throw every SEC East team not named Georgia or Vanderbilt into a jumble this year and not be surprised who finishes in what order. That's true. South Carolina looks like a solid team this year, not a threat to Georgia, but respectable. Not a threat to
Absolutely
Georgia.
Not a threat to Georgia.
Not a threat. No threat. Judging from the poll question on the Big Spur and on Twitter, Gamecock fans kind of agree. Not a threat to Georgia because they're like us, much more likely to beat Arkansas. That's what Kenobi was as a miniseries, respectable, but it suffered from the core problem of everyone knowing what happens to the main characters. It was fun seeing those same characters and other familiar scenes. It also may be fun seeing Spencer Rattler at a new school, but you kind of know how it's going to end. So you're telling me, Phil, that eventually, the Gamecocks are going to kind of walk into the Death Star and have a lightsaber battle with Lord Vader, and our heads are going to come off.
If we meet Lord Vader in Atlanta on the Death Star, I'd be perfectly happy to see that.
No doubt. So I don't know. I would kind of like to see like Star Wars characters instead of some.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking before I actually started reading it. Is like characters would be interesting, but Kenobi. Yeah.
I'd like the game. Who would the game guy like Lando Calrissian?
Lando Calrissian.
Vandy would probably be like Admiral Akbar. Everybody sort of a nice character, but not very important in the grand scheme of things. Except it's a trap.
Got a soft spot. Yeah, soft spot in everybody's heart, but you're like not main character.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
I think Arkansas would be Jabba the Hutt, just because Arkansas is kind of like the outpost, Auburn would be Boba Fett, probably. Shoot, I could go on and on. I'll write it down, and we'll discuss this tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll put our list together.
I'll put a list together on that. But I wanted to mention that just because I do think there's some general ooh. That's the best way I can describe it, is like media looking at Carolina and going, ooh. Look, man. I know this team, at the same time, people talk, oh, Shane Beamer's done a great job, but, they're probably still building or whatever. And look, I don't think people realize like how many veterans come back on this roster, and then how much they added in the portal and through recruiting. And then on top of that, how many people are healthy this year that weren't. I like this roster, Phil. I really do. I've said before, it's the best roster since 2013.
I like the depth that we have, the experience. I mean, let them sleep, but let them sleep on us.
Yeah, I just and I get it. You got to earn respect is earned, right? But I just I just don't know how many these people are digging in a whole lot on it. I don't know. So anyway, congrats to Brandon again for winning the trivia on the Nana's Porch chat box.
We did get your address too, Brandon, so we'll get that out to you.
Mail. It'll be in this afternoon's mail, sir. Remember Shawshank when he goes, "Could you put this in your afternoon mail?"
Could you put that?
Thank you. Mostly, I just miss my friend. Oh, that kind of chokes me up sometimes. I don't even start thinking about Shawshank right now, right?
No.
Get back to the Nana Sports chat line. Keep those chats coming in. If you got something for JB, we got him up here in 18 minutes, man. I'm fired up to hear the great one talk again. Start calling him the great one, JB.
I love that. Yeah, that's good.
Great one. So on Outkick, and look, this is not going to be a political show, so please don't get mad at me for reading Outkick. It's about sports gambling and odds for the Heisman. And he talks about C.J. Stroud is the favorite to win it, the quarterback for Ohio State, Bryce Young. I mentioned Will Anderson, I think, after some people in the media, and rightfully so, were, what the heck's going on? He's not, why wasn't he even voted? Heisman's a joke, blah, blah, blah. So this guy, David Troy, talks about Quinn Ewers from Texas being a dark horse. And look, man, he's 35-1. You put a $100 on it, you make $3,500. I don't even like. Okay, so in Illinois, when I'm in Illinois, I got a little the Barstool Sports app or whatever where you can put a couple bucks on a game. I mean, I don't mind admitting that. I don't think I'm a bad person. It's not illegal. It's like buying a lottery ticket. But I never touched Texas. I wouldn't touch Texas with a 10-foot pole until they prove that they are not soft. And
that's it. Yeah.
The quarterback, Ewers, is a hell of a talent. But, I mean, look, man, this guy's already transferred once, NIL, this, that, and the other. I don't know.
It just seems like they're transferring some of that Arch Manning hype to this year. It was like, he's not starting this year.
Yeah, he said too. He mentioned this too. He said Caleb Williams at plus 700, who's at Southern Cal. Followed Lincoln Riley out there, the guy that beat out Rattler. Maybe a value pick there. And then he mentioned Spencer Rattler, right? So this can get Gamecock fans excited. Spencer Rattler left Oklahoma and has a chance to be the Heisman winner if he makes South Carolina a realistic contender. He's good, of course, but it didn't work out on a better team. So this is still unlucky. But he mentioned it. Rattler's on the board with some of this stuff. So I'm going to tell you right now, my pick at plus 3,500. And I've said this, I didn't do it today, but I usually every Wednesday morning I'm on with Wimp and Barry Sanderson in Tuscaloosa, just talking about college football in general or whatever. I said Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to be probably the starting running back at Alabama, transfer in from Georgia Tech. People I don't think really understand. South Carolina fans know about him because the Gamecocks recruited him. out of high school. But I don't think people understand how good this guy's going to be. And I said it like 9 months ago. They're like, "You're crazy." I was like, wait and see. Well, he only had 800 yards at Georgia Tech. I'm like, Georgia Tech has basically a Southern Conference roster. Okay. They don't have much talent down on the flats, right?
No.
Which is unfortunate. But so he got out of there. Now he's playing at Bama. Watch that guy. Watch that
goes. Yeah.
I'm gonna go put $1 on it, so I'll win 35. Maybe 350. I don't know what that would transfer to. But anyway, so that's an interesting thing for David Troy, 35-1 sprinkle. He calls it a sprinkle. But anyway, go check that out. We had what do we have? We had Joseph coming in on the Nana Sports chat line saying, "Are y'all going to cover spreads and give your picks?" I'm in a few football pools and enjoy hearing other people's opinions. It'd be cool if you could do a pool with the community on the channel, on the chat box. Maybe so. I got to upgrade my prize game because I'm sitting here with magnets and Mayor McCheese. Anyway, but Joseph, that's a good idea. I'm going to work on that, buddy, because we got time. We got about 3 weeks here. We can.
Plenty of time to get that going. I was thinking about that yesterday too, JC. Let's put some picks together. Yeah.
Put some picks together and get the chat box going and see who wins there. Craig says he misses JB and Darren. We all do. We all do. But we're glad you're here, Craig. Right, we try to live up to those standards, and here in about 14 minutes, the great one will join us. Dr. Rob, welcome in to the Nana Sports chat box. You probably recognize the last name there. Sponsors the first hour of our show. By the way, hour number 2 is presented by the Remax at the Lake Burgesson team. All your commercial real estate needs, give them a holla. You've heard the ad with the email. Email Adam if you want all your whole state of South Carolina, commercial real estate needs. I failed to mention that at the top. I need to get better about that. Rob says, I see a lot of Arkansas and Kentucky hype. I know they can run the ball, but can they stretch the field vertically this year? They both lost a lot of multiple vertical threats. That's a big question, and that's a good question. Now, those are two different animals, because I think I have a lot of trust in the Art Briles system. He made a believer out of me, Art did, when Baylor played North Carolina, I think in 2015 in the it's been like the Tangerine Bowl, the Tire Bowl. I don't even know what it is now. It's the number. There's 3 bowls in Orlando. It's the number 2 one that Clemson played in last year, the Tangerine Bowl or whatever. So I thought it was Cheez-It Bowl. It was
Cheez-It. Yeah, that's right.
Cheez-It Bowl now.
Yeah.
I don't think it was called the Cheez-It Bowl. Anyway, so they lost all their quarterbacks, Baylor, and they started a wide receiver at quarterback. Of course, Kentucky did the same thing a couple of years ago, but different animal. And he, at the end of the game, I think Baylor won like 60-something to something, and they had 700 yards of offense. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. Impressive at Baylor, and he's continuing to impress at Arkansas, I think.
Yeah.
As well.
Kendall, and Kendall Brow's offense is just like that. And so, if they don't have a vertical threat, they may just line up and run it. I mean, Carolina's got to stop the run, and they've got to commit to it. And the first 3 games, like I said, are gonna tell it. Now, South Carolina has a good day on defense, stops the run, bottles them up. Auburn had some success doing some teams had success against Arkansas doing that last year. I think it's a good point because I really don't know who they do have to stretch the field. There may be somebody, somebody always emerges, but and with Kentucky, Wan'Dale Robinson, is gone. Amazing bowl game. I think it affects Kentucky a lot more than Arkansas. And yeah. The Will Levis hype is good. And see, there's been so many different opinions. We had Michael Bratton on earlier on Monday. He's not buying Kentucky at all. He thinks Kentucky's going to lose 5 or 6 games. Brad's on. Brad thinks Kentucky's going to win 10, and so there's all these mixed opinions. I do think Robinson was such a special player for them that could when their offense is not designed to be as explosive or as creative as Bryles at Arkansas. They're a pro style system, with wrinkles, Rams, 49ers, whatever. And so that hurts them if they can't do that, because just like with South Carolina last year, teams can load up and try to stop those running backs. Kentucky also, this gets lost too, Phil. Kentucky loves to line up and run the ball. They love to be a pro-style team. They lost 3 really good offensive linemen.
That's it. I mean, when you look at Kentucky, JC, on the offensive side of the ball, most of their returning production is in quarterback and in the backfield. And everything else is a question mark really heading into this season.
Yeah, definitely. Scott comes in on the chat line, listening in from work. Love the new show, small town of Wallace, South Carolina. If I'm not mistaken, that's where Savell Newton's from. We talked about Savell Newton earlier. I think that's Marlboro County. Scott, thank you for chiming in. I love it when people say, "Hey, I'm tuning in from here, tuning in from there." That's just that's awesome for us and all that. Clint talks about Jahmyr Gibbs. He says favorite running back in the last 5 classes.
He's going to be special. Yeah.
Yeah. Quantrell Nose says, speaking of bowls, why does it seem like the Rose Bowl is the most coveted out of all the New Year's Six bowls from a media perspective? Tradition, granddaddy of it all. I mean, look, man, you want to talk? We talked about bucket list earlier.
Hey,
that's a bucket list for me. That's right. I have some buddies, and I don't know. Some of our friends from the upstate may get mad at me for saying this, but I have some family that's Clemson, right? Some fams. Well,
you can't avoid it up here.
Obviously, you got family, but I have way more friends that are Georgia and Tennessee fans, like friends that are Georgia and Tennessee fans than Clemson. In fact, outside of one good friend that I went to high school with, my Clemson buddies are like my Clemson media buddies that they cover Clemson and all that. I mean, they're like my best Clemson friends. And I have an ex-girlfriend I'm still friends with that's a Clemson person, but she doesn't care. You could hear her, you've actually heard her voice on the podcast. She does the damn intro, but that's a Clemson person. Yeah, everybody's gonna be out there like that Tater woman on the beginning of your show.
I gotta get her off.
Get her off. But anyway, I have a lot of Georgia friends, and I was very, very jealous of them in 2017, not because they played for the national championship and had success and, beat the Gamecocks or whatever, but that schedule that year was awesome. If you were a Georgia fan in 2017, there was a dream. How could you, even though they won it this year, Phil, and didn't that year, how could you ever have another season like that? Okay, so it started week 2 in South Bend, Indiana, and they literally came up here and took over Notre Dame Stadium, right? Right?
I remember that.
And so they come up here, and like my buddy Kevin, who's a big old dog, brought his son, and I was like, man, what a magic! At that point, and Georgia won by 1 point. Started a troop. Jake Fromm had to come in because their starter got hurt that game. Beat Notre Dame in South Bend by 1 point. I don't care what your opinion is of Notre Dame, winning up there is special. Every time you do it. So they got to go to South Bend. So it's like, oh, it doesn't get any better than that. Maybe y'all can go to the Citrus Bowl,
and then they proceed to wax soundly everyone.
Yeah, because at the time they just lost their starting quarterback. You got Jake Fromm as a true freshman. I'm like, there's no way these guys, make it through. Later in the year, they got waxed by Auburn, and you're like, oh well, I told you so, that kind of thing. Well, then that's when the magic happened, because Auburn was the best team in the country for 2 weeks that year. And then they beat Bama, and then they got injured in that one. And then they go to the Dome or the Mercedes-Benz and lose to Georgia. So Georgia gets in the playoff. Well, where's the semifinals? To the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. So you go to South Bend, and then you get another game later in the year in the Rose Bowl. I think Georgia may have played in the Rose Bowl in the 30s or something back before, but I mean, that is an awesome deal. And there's a sea of red in that one. My buddy Kevin took his son. I mean, hey, and then And then in something that's like probably special, but also is probably a little easier on the pocketbook or the credit card after going all the way to California, they get to play for the national championship against the hated Crimson Tide at Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. And I was actually at that game, and it was the best game I've ever seen in my life. Of course, Bama won and broke their hearts with 2 minutes to go. But just, jealousy of the Georgia fan base. So to Quantrell's point, I just think it's tradition. I think with this whole UCLA and SC going to the Big Ten, Rose Bowl may be on the clock. And they like to think of themselves as the granddaddy. It's not that they actually believe that crap. This game's more important than a championship game. I'm like, no, you're stupid. You're stupid. Haughtiness is the reason we didn't have a national championship. We had a split national champions, and it's ridiculous. But, so that as far as the operations of the Rose Bowl and their attitude, I can't stand it. But I would like to go to a Rose Bowl. And here's something that's going to make everybody cry. In 2013, I've said this many times, the two most costly losses in Gamecock football history were 1984 against Navy. There's a song lyric about it. Patrick Davis, big old cock. We just beat Navy. We'd won it all for sure. 2013, Tennessee in Knoxville. I've told the story many times. I'm not going to talk about the horrible person I was with and all that. But the way things played out, Gamecocks win that one. They'd have won at Missouri. They'd have won the East. The kick six was that year. So you knocked off a Bama team I don't think the 2013 Gamecocks matched up well against. You'd have played an Auburn team that I think, because look at the next year in 2014 against Auburn, how Steve Spurrier dismantled Ellis Johnson's defense.
Right.
Because, the head ball coach everything was kind of a competition to him, so he would call plays against Ellis in practice every day. So he knew him, and so that Gamecock team to me with, still had Clowney on defense, Quarles, Victor Hampton, to me, probably would have given Auburn a game. Well, then Urban Meyer loses at Ohio State to Michigan State. That's when he sat on the floor and cried and ate the pizza. What a weirdo, by the way.
Yes.
Freaking weirdo. So
he's
Michigan,
back on TV this year too, isn't he?
Yeah. Michigan State knocks them off. It had the Gamecocks beaten Tennessee and gone on and beaten Auburn, which I think they would have had a 50-50 shot. I don't think that Auburn team was dramatically superior to South Carolina. Plus, there was the matchup issue. That was Gus's first year back. Gamecocks versus Florida. Steve Spurrier in South Carolina versus Florida State in the Rose Bowl for the final BCS national championship game.
Oh, could you imagine all the hype and talk leading into that matchup?
Yeah, and look, I'm going to say this right now. Carolina was getting the nod because if you look back at that season after the Citrus Bowl that year, Carolina finished fourth in the country, finished ranked fourth.
Right.
Because they had big wins. Like UCF was really good. Carolina went on the road and beat them. They won at Missouri. It was in the top 5. They beat Clemson, who won the Orange Bowl. So 2013, we look back on it, we were closer than we think. And I would have probably sold my arm to go watch the Gamecocks play in the Rose Bowl for the national title. Now, would they have beaten that Florida State team with famous Jameis and, the crab leg guy and all that? I don't know. Auburn gave them a good game, but, again, it would have been about matchups. I have to go look at it. All right, we are way over right here. We got to hit a break. Coming back, the great one, Jamie Bradford joins us from JB and Goldwater fame. Talk Gamecocks, college football, memory lane, answer some of your questions from the Nana Sports chat line and the IL Consulting mailbag. We'll be back after these messages.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, hour on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Let's say you need catering, you need a food truck, you just need to get some delicious food to feed some people. Nana's Porch is the place for you. I've known Chris, the owner, for years now. They helped with the Big Spur Golf Tournament, catering it. It was delicious. I highly encourage you to go visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com right now to take a look at their services, their menu items, everything you may need for your event, the professionalism, the food, the taste. It's unrivaled in this space. 336-259-7550 is the phone number. Or again, go to nanasporch.com. We talk about them all the time. They sponsor the chat line here on the podcast, but wanted to tell you about it right here, straight from JC. Tell them JC sent you, and please support this Gamecock-owned and operated business. Also a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
All right, we are back.
The Mule says, welcome, Jamie. We will have you intro music next time. By the way, this is the Mule. He's going to help us pick games this year. So, hello, Phil. Hello, Jamie. the great one has joined us. I just gave you that nickname, man. Jamie Bradford from Jamie and Goldwater fame. Also an outstanding person and expert, and well, you name it. Just we're just glad to have Jamie on. He's here on the guest line, brought to you by McKellarEnterprises.org. Meredith Taylor going to teach you some golf lessons. Get that swing squared away with Meredith. You've heard how to contact her. Follow her on Twitter at MERTaylor. She's going to join us on Friday. Jamie, lots going on around Gamecock land and college football, but, you know, just in general, I know you keep your finger on the pulse of things and stuff. The word I get's excitement, looking forward to it, all that good stuff. How is your feel? Because I think people would be interested in that. I hadn't heard from you in a while. So,
first of all, it's good because I look over here and I see all these people that used to watch and listen to us, and I appreciate that. I don't know where the great one came from. That's ridiculous.
I came up with that. I came up with that too, like 5 minutes ago.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate that, and it's good to be able to kind of dabble back into it a little bit with you. And I know you and I have talked a lot off air. We talk all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be doing some stuff with Bill Gunner and 107.5 The Game here that starting in the next week or two. So I'm still around, still kind of in the thick of it with a bunch of folks up there. And so my feel actually right now is pretty good. when you kind of start to look at I always look at the players. I mean, that's where it should start, right? Is with the players. Like, do you have good players or not, or do you not have good players?
Mm-hmm.
And South Carolina's got some pretty good players. On defense, you got 2 5-stars up there, and on the defensive line, you got a potential All-American behind them in the secondary, and Cam Smith. You got Spencer Rattler at quarterback. You got Marshawn Lloyd at running back, and other guys. You got a bunch of wide receivers you're excited about. You return an offensive line that's 8 or 9 deep. I mean, we could keep going here. And, so I think for the first time in a long time, they've got a bunch of really good players. And this is going to sound strange, but because the season was somewhat of a letdown, even though they had some big wins, but I probably haven't seen this much excitement going into a season since 2014. Now, Texas A&M promptly came into Williams-Brice and ended all those hopes and dreams real quick. But going into the year, everybody was pretty fired up because of what had happened the 3 previous seasons. So it's been a while, but so far so good, and hopefully they stay healthy over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a good offseason. I mean, not just from, when you look at the players and all that good stuff, but recruiting's going really well. By the way, Xavier McLeod, I'll just go ahead and say it because we don't get to it, announcing Saturday, I still like the Gamecocks' chances, defensive tackle from Camden. Yeah. Gamecocks could add Vakari Swain here pretty soon too, and maybe some others. But anyway, I look at it and I'm like, I'm a little surprised that and I guess it's just because there's so many teams with like that you want to believe in this year, but you don't. And even Georgia, to me, Jamie, is like, okay, yes, I know they're immensely talented. Yes, I would pick them to win the SEC East, but look at what they lost. And this is not Nick Saban at Alabama. This is they're not there. I mean, even though they won, they're not there yet. They haven't stacked. I mean, even Bama in 2010, that team the Gamecocks beat, they lost 3 games that year because they lost a lot off their team from last year. So, I wonder why people don't kind of look more closely at the Gamecocks, but I guess I kind of understand it. And to me, Jamie, and let's see what you think about this, it's probably better. Because that 2014 team was ultra hyped. They did a Steve Spurrier, Kenny Chesney movie that offseason, dude. I mean, it was amazing. It was going to shoot. Coach Ward says our defense is going to be better this year. Yeah. Steve Neal says that's a pile of. Stop embarrassing me. But yeah, so what do you? I almost think it's better to kind of be under the radar right now.
Well, I think it's better for South Carolina. To be under the radar right now. I mean, look, the difference is those teams that you mentioned, Georgia and Alabama in particular, and then the rest of the powers in the SEC, when they have really good seasons, even if there's conversation amongst the national pundits that maybe they're not going to be as good, they're still expected to be able to replace those type players because historically that's what they've done. But that's not what's happened historically at places like South Carolina and Kentucky and Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And quote unquote the blue collar programs in this league that will flash and then they kind of will die out here and there, right? So it's to your own. I don't want to say it's your own fault, but it's your own history. I mean, South Carolina's never really sustained anything, outside of a few spurts here and there, and so they don't ever really get a lot of recognition until they go out there and actually prove it. I mean, was it last Friday that 12? They were basically picked by all the coaches to be the 12th best team in the SEC based on votes received. I mean, I don't really think that's going to happen. I think that they're going to be much better than that. But, if Shane Beamer plays his cards right, and he's not much like Coach Sweeney in this instance, but this would be somewhere where he needs to do it. That's a little bit of a shot at you, man. That's kind of some disrespect. Like, hey, the coaches, the guys that run the programs in this sport, your peers, they think you suck. The only 2 teams that are picked behind you are Missouri and Vanderbilt. Let that sink in real quick. So you're going to have a JC. We say this every year. We said it last year, and we said it the year before, and we said it the year before. And this year, if you want to take the next step, it's as important as ever. You got to beat somebody you're not supposed to beat. And last year, they beat Auburn and they beat Florida, and they weren't supposed to beat either one of them. And then they were totally written off in the bowl game, and they beat the crap out of North Carolina. So they did that 3 times to get to 7 wins. And you're more than likely going to have to do that at least 3 times this year if you want to improve on those 7.
I agree, definitely. And this is our poll question, because Brad Crawford, he believes, we had him on yesterday, he thinks it's more likely that they upset Georgia than winning at Arkansas. Nobody's buying it. We have this poll on the Big Spur and also on Twitter. 84% say the more likely wins at Arkansas compared to 15 for Georgia. The Twitter numbers are the same.
Yeah,
I think you need to take it one game at a time. And if you're good enough to go on the road and beat Arkansas in week 2, I think you're good enough to hang with Georgia. And I think some people are like, oh, you're crazy, man. But I hate it because I talked about my Georgia friends earlier, and they're like, you're always trying to have some reason why we're not Alabama. And I'm like, because you're not, but they could be. If they have another great year this year and go to the playoff, they're well on their way. But I'm just, that's just so much talent off that defense. So much talent. And if you get both of those, JB, you're 5-0 going to Lexington. So,
Well, look, I think I actually agree with Brad. I think it is Georgia. And the reason that I say that is because I mentioned earlier, prove it. Well, Carolina has not proven anything on the road at all since they beat Georgia there in 2019. And that was if you really look back at what happened in 2019 and 2020, I don't ever really want to call anything a fluke, but damn, that's pretty close. It was just a strange day, and it happened to work out for South Carolina. As Coach Spur used to say, well, sometimes God's smiling on the Gamecocks. Well, he had a pretty big grin that day, that's for sure. But since then, they essentially on the road, they've done nothing. They've done nothing. They've gotten off to terrible starts. Or they've gotten into terrible lulls. Last year was embarrassing everywhere they went, including Missouri, even though they kind of fought back towards the end and they hung in there in the first quarter, and then it just kind of fell apart. You can't have that at Arkansas. You will get beat there. And last year, Arkansas didn't lose a game at home. I think they're 8-3 in Fayetteville or at home in the last 2 years combined. 2 of those losses, by the way, are against teams named Georgia and Alabama. Mm-hmm. And so, that's a big time prove it thing, but they have proven it in Williams-Brice Stadium against Georgia time and time again. They've done it a lot in the last 20 years, and they can do it. And it's a noon kick, and I think that works out. So, but I'm with you. As much as fun as it is to do it here on August the 10th, we'll worry about Georgia starting about September the 11th after they get through that Arkansas game.
Yeah, that's we had to. It was the audio was not all that great, so we didn't hear exactly what he said. But I feel like he thinks Georgia State's going to win the football game, which I don't agree. Shut up, man. Anyway, we had Ben Moore from PantherTalk.com, the Georgia State Big Spur version of the Big Spur.
Yeah,
and he thinks they're going to win. But you look at their personnel, Jamie, and really the first 3 games. I keep rolling this out. Yeah. All big time rushing attacks, all big time. Georgia State was top 10. Arkansas was top 10. Georgia. They were top 30 last year. All different distinct styles of rushing attacks. It's a little scary, when you think about the run defense from last year. So I'm concerned about Georgia State. I want to get your take on that. Your take on that game. It's a night game. It should be great, but should be a game the Gamecocks win, but I have a feeling that's going to be a challenging matchup right out the gate. And when I say challenging, it's going to be a game the Gamecocks have to play well. If they play well, I think they'll win and probably win easily, but they can't stump their toe in that one.
Well, what was the formula for the Gamecock defense last year?
Turnovers.
Mm-hmm. That's where it starts and where it ends. You get turnovers, they're gonna have a chance. JC, if this offense isn't better than last year, there's a major issue, and it's not the personnel. But I think from what I've heard, it is better, and they are clicking, and they look good, and that starts at quarterback. I'm sure we'll get there in just a little bit, but I'm with you on that. I like Georgia State. Love Sean Elliott. It's impossible to not love Sean Elliott. He is an outstanding human being. He's a hell of a football coach. He is probably would never admit it publicly, but JC, you and I aren't stupid. He is a closet Gamecock fan, but every fiber of his body wants to win this game. And he's got a lot of the right pedigree to be able to design a really good rushing attack. We all know that. He's good at that. He can find that. But again, this is about South Carolina. All right, let's put it this way. Phil, JC, Phil the Groundhog. I've been wanting to say that all day. All right. So
Housatonic Phil.
So look, if you had Georgia, no, let's leave them out of this. Let's put another up and coming team that's gotten a lot of respect in the last couple of years, trendy type programs who media guys look at and they say, oh yeah, they're going to be really good. Kentucky, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Arkansas, clearly A&M is there now. All right, let's just stay with those 5. If you didn't name another player on their defense, not one, but you said 2 of the starting 4 up front are former top 10 players in the country, 2 of the top 4 highest signed players in the history of the program. Another kid led the nation in sacks 2 years ago, and one of their secondary members is a preseason All-American. What do you think everybody would be saying about that defense, regardless of who else is playing? Just those 4 guys. What do you think everybody else would be saying?
They'd be like,
they'd be
probably
drooling.
Picking them second. Yeah.
They'd be drooling if Kentucky had 2 5-stars up front starting named Jordan Birch and Zach Pickens and another guy named Jordan Strawn and another guy named Cam Smith. They would be drooling over that, but they ain't drooling over South Carolina. So again, that's what we started this segment with. It goes back to the players. If you've got good players, you'll get people talking, and that's going to be their first opportunity to do it at 7:30 Saturday night at Williams-Brice.
I know it's one of those things where you just look at it and, I mean, look, man, I am glad that there's Georgia State fans for Sean Elliott's standpoint. I'm glad that and Ben Moore certainly does a great job for them.
He's the best program in Atlanta right now.
Yeah. Well, they're better than Georgia Tech, I'll tell you that. But that's ugly down there. But
I know Sean Elliott after the year might have an offer just to drive about 3 miles down the street and coach.
Shoot, I'd hire him tomorrow if I were Tech. I'd get that other guy. I never thought Collins was a good hire. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But so Rattler was reading up today on Outkick. David Troy, who does a little gambling type odds, what was a good bet on the Heisman odds preseason, what was a bad one. He thought Rattler would be a bad one, but he's like, look, if he puts South Carolina in contention, he's going to be in contention for the Heisman. And which sounds, I mean, look, a Clemson fan that's sneakily listening to this show is probably going to clip this and say that I said Rattler's going to win the Heisman. However,
I finally blocked that guy.
Yeah. Oh, there's all those guys. There's a big anonymous Clemson. I think it's the same guy too. Anyway.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, it doesn't offend me in any way, shape, or form. You got to be like a pretty pathetic loser to spend that much time on social media focusing on your rival. But I was like, dude, I'm not I check Twitter now like twice a day, and when I check it, I'm not gonna see this crap anymore. So
yeah, so
occupying rent-free space in that guy's head. So
yeah, that guy's nuts, a nut job. So anyway, gosh, I lost my train of thought here. Oh yeah, so Rattler and the Heisman, and he was talking about it. He's like, well, if he puts him in contention, he's going to win the Heisman. I agree because he's a known name. South Carolina starts winning, like we talked about 5-0. If they happen to start 5-0. And 5-0 going to Lexington, which would be a huge game. And then if you beat them in Lexington, you're 6-0. You have a week off. A&M's coming to town. Game day would probably be there for that if A&M pulls its weight. But your expectations for him, I think some of the narrative around him's unfair. I think some of it is fair. Different style offense. But you hear things coming out of practice like he puts it on the money every single time.
Yeah, I've heard the same stuff, and I'm actually going to hop on a call a little bit later on today with somebody up there who's, let's just say, spent a lot of time around him, Spencer Rattler, and I've heard the same stuff. But as much as anything, JC, I had a source tell me last week. I'm not sure if in one of our late evening conversations if we've talked about this or not. I know Flint and I have. But one of the great things, which by the way, I think Michael was actually watching. He called me earlier and said, "I heard your dumbass is going on the Big Spur show today." I said, "Well, I'm dumbass number one until you come in, and then you'll take over that spot."
Yeah, we're gonna have Flint on.
Yeah. But I what I've heard, JC, we know about his talent. Like if you think that you can discredit this young man's talent. You've never watched a snap of football in your life. We've seen it. We know he's talented. We're not stupid. Nobody's stupid. I think one of the questions is how will that talent parlay to South Carolina? Because I honestly, I believe had he transferred to like Tennessee, oh my God, you couldn't shut him up. I mean, it would be nonstop. But he's at South Carolina, and that's probably where some of the hesitation. And that's fine. I understand that. I'm not upset about that. But I think the main thing I've heard about Spencer Rattler is, this is going to sound strange, but you'll get it. Both of you. Everybody should get this. When he walks into the huddle, everybody's paying pretty close attention to what he's got to say. Like, they feel really good, as in that's my quarterback right there. And that's no disrespect to anybody else on the roster, because I know that Luke is beloved up there. I know those guys are excited about him getting his chance. He's going to play this year. We all know he's going to play this year. They got a bunch of young guys. Colton Gothier still in the mix. I mean, they got a bunch of dudes, I think, that are really talented kids. But all of the dudes in that huddle watched this guy on TV as a Heisman Trophy candidate. They've all seen it. And so if he has a bad snap or something like that, there's no lost trust in his ability. It's like, that's Spencer. He'll get it right. As long as we do our thing, he's going to do his thing. So it's an instant gratification when he walks into the huddle and calls out that play. They know that what he's saying, they can trust it. And if they don't know what the hell he's talking about, because a lot of that happened last year, he's going to get it corrected for him. Or at least he'll call timeout and get it figured out. So the trust I've heard, from what I've heard, is enormous right now.
And that's very important when you have a transfer quarterback that comes in. And, you know, the things I've heard too, JB and Phil, are that he, you know, oh, it's Spencer Rattler. And then you get this feedback like, oh, he's a bad kid or not a good teammate. Or
remember what he said? He was 17 and all that.
Yeah, all that crap. And what I was told when they recruited him, and look, give Shane Beamer credit. Shane's not going to bring in a guy. Shane Beamer is a protect the culture at all costs guy. He's not going to bring in a guy that's going to disrupt everything just because he's talented.
Well, like, and at the most important position in the program.
Yeah. It's like when Coach O, when he was at Ole Miss, brought in Brent Schaefer from Tennessee. Remember that, Brent Schaefer? Terrible for chemistry on that team. And that team didn't win a damn game in the SEC. So, you know, you can mess it up bad. But what I was told was when they met with him, a source told me, a contact, JC, he's been served some humble pie. And he knows he has a lot to prove. And we wouldn't have taken him otherwise, is what I was told. So, he spent a lot of time endearing himself not only to the community and the fans, but his teammates. I heard nothing but great things behind the scenes about him being a great teammate. And that's what you need out of that position, guys. I mean, that's the bottom line, not to mention he's talented. So you gotta kind of, like that about this team. All right. So Heath Faircloth, or Heath, I'm sorry. Throw that one up there. I want to let JB take a shot at this one. He has a question on the Nana Sports chat line. He says, y'all remember the year the D had lots of turnovers and beat Michigan in a bowl game with BMAC calling the plays and having high expectations the following year? Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
And he says, I see a lot of similarities. I will let JB take this one because I don't.
I don't see a lot of similarity. If he's Heath, if you're referencing the hype, yeah, there's similarity in hype. But if you're referencing football and the team itself, no, it's different. And JC, I think that as much credit as should be thrown at Coach Beamer, and he deserves it. We know that. But a lot of these guys that we're expecting to watch come out and do big things this year, especially on defense, those are Muschamp guys. And so I think that, like, if we could be mature and have a mature conversation about all of this, like, there is a collective at this point in time in the preseason pat on the back that should be going to Will Muschamp and his staff for bringing in some of these guys, to Shane Beamer and his staff for being able to develop and keep them in the program, as easy as it is to transfer, and to the young men for giving this new regime a chance. I mean, it's taken a collective effort to be able to have that feel to get where we are. But I mean, if you go back to what 2018 was going to look like from a talent standpoint and what 2022 looks like from a talent standpoint, including all the guys that are here now that you can just snap your fingers and get in the portal. No, it's a lot different. And the head coach actually has the support of the fan base. Unfortunately, that was not the case even after winning 9 games back in 2017 for Coach Muschamp.
Yeah, and then that Georgia game took the life out of that 2018 team for a while. And you had a debacle at Kentucky. And look, here's the difference. Okay, that 2017 team lost Sky Moore, Dante Sawyer, who led the nation in forced fumbles, Taylor Stallworth, who I think we all can agree was one of the better D tackles Muschamp had. Some players out of the secondary that ended up leaving. And then that team in 2018 on defense got ravished by injuries. My mistake with that group was this. I knew they were going to be better on offense, and by God, they were. It was the best offense Will Muschamp ever had as a head coach, and probably the best offense since 2014 that we've seen at Carolina. Jake played well in a lot of games. You had Debo, that kind of thing. Right. Where I screwed that up, I was just like, well, Muschamp's first 2 years, his first year he pieced it together. The defense towards the end of that year kind of got exposed, but they were doing it with like bubble gum and masking tape on defense that first season and got to a bowl. And then you had this big turnover, forcing turnover machine the next year. And I thought, well, even if they're not as good on defense, they'll at least be decent. I didn't expect a historically bad type of situation.
Well, you had a lot of injuries that year too.
And then the injuries killed it. So that's where I made that mistake that year in kind of thinking, well, they'll take the next step, because I was like, well, you got – and I think that's kind of, one thing to look out for this year, because I started thinking that. I was like, well, there's all this talk about the offense. What about the Gamecocks defense? Or are we setting ourselves up for a letdown? And but then I looked at the personnel, and I was like, nah, you're not.
On the other side of that, JC, too, is like we all know Muschamp could recruit, right? I mean, nobody's questioning that. But you're putting players in the league, even from South Carolina, but it's a developmental thing with him. Like we could never see that whole package just gel and come together. And that really, for me, is what my eyes are on with Beamer this year, because we got the pieces, you've got the depth, the talent's there. Now we got to put it all together as a cohesive unit, which is something I think was lacking in the Muschamp years.
Well, and that 2018 season as well, like I know, JC, you mentioned Georgia, you mentioned Kentucky, but in addition to the injuries that year, guys, and there was look, if you have that many injuries on this team, you're probably going to have similar results. But like where I think the Muschamp era began to really truly die was Florida. Because they were winning that game 31-14, and they blew it. They blew it. I mean, Florida didn't really come back and win the game. I mean, I'm always a give credit guy. Y'all know that. You've been around me a long time. Nah, man. South Carolina blew the game in this. Had they won that game, different season. But they lost, and then from there on out, they just could not figure it out. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, you had that the moral victory up at Clemson or whatever, and
yeah,
that game
you're giving up 60 points.
That game was a 28-point game in the fourth quarter.
Hey, back then I agreed with Clemson fans who were laughing at us, who were like, y'all are excited because you scored 35 and lost by 21. You got to be kidding me. I agree with him. Like, yeah, there was sure, our offense finally showed up. We scored 35 points. That was neat. But we got beat by 3 touchdowns at our rival. Like, there was nothing moral about that. It was
embarrassing. It was good to be for them to be competitive for a half, and then but that was what it was. It's 28-21 at halftime. Next thing you know, Clemson's up by 20, 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So that's crazy. Well, JB, this is the first, hopefully, of many conversations that we have here.
You have my number.
Yeah, this is really good. Yeah, I got it locked and loaded. But thanks for
hey, what about the intro music? What are we doing about this? We got to figure out intro music.
Me and Phil have been talking about
it. I almost sang some Eric Church for you.
Oh. Hey, I tried to do Sinners Like Me at karaoke last night. It went horribly wrong.
Oh, boy.
Nat's got the video. I came back and killed it with Purple Rain at the end. But
do you want me to bring Eric to your wedding, or I've got an in with him? I can get him there.
Yeah, if he'll sit up there and play on the porch, that'd be great.
They're taking a lot of the year off with touring, so he might be tight financially, but he can crash at my crib. I'll bring him.
All right, cool, man. That's awesome. So bring the Chief on in. All right, so we'll have some Bubba reviews for you next time, buddy. Thanks.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
See you. Thanks, everybody. Good to see
Yeah,
everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see everybody here on the Nana Sports chat line. But yeah, I think there's some differences. First of all, back to Heath Fairclaw or Heath's question there. I'm not going to pick Gamecocks to go 11-2. I'm not playing that game. So, all right. Thanks for everybody that participated on the Nana Sports chat line. Did want to pass along an ad that I unfortunately did not get to today. Heritage Digital certainly is one of our sponsors. We got to get a new ad up. They changed their number. heritagedigital.com. Matt Odom. That's the ad you've heard. Are you tired of your IT person? 843-699-1001. So we're going to have Meredith Taylor on later this week. We have some other guests that we're going to get on. And Phil, we have another show in the freaking books, man.
That's right, man. Another good one. Let's keep rolling.
Great stuff today from all of you. Our cast of characters on the Nana Sports chat line. I Help Consulting mailbag. We love this. We love this interaction. And I think, like the emailer said yesterday, it's probably going to work better for us doing it digitally than having people call in live. Like, could you turn down your radio, please? You know, that kind of thing.
Imagine.
Yeah, VJ chimes in with a hot take here on the Nana Sports chat line just to wrap it up because I've got no concerns about Rattler. This season means more to him than anyone. And I saw VJ is one of our emailers, has a lot of good takes. Speaking of the defensive lines, and as we forget run stoppers like MJ Webb, who've been around for 17 years. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Older players on the line of scrimmage, man. And VJ, I wanted to go. I think he goes by Belmont Gamecock on the email. Belmont, I just wanted to get to you because I saw you participating, and you do get a participation trophy here on Inside the Gamecocks show. That's right. That's right, Phil. The Mule is going to pick some games this year.
Well, she'll be better than both of us.
Everybody's going to screenshot this and say J.C. Sherbert has a sweet ass.
Yeah. Yeah, then the other side will be like, look at that ass of J.C. Sherbert.
I got to go over here. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun with him and Mayor McCheese as we go on. So anyway, we got to get out of here. For Football and Axe, this is J.C. Sherbert. This has been Inside the Gamecocks show. Thanks to Jamie Bradford for joining us and for all of you for tuning in. This will be up in podcast format soon, also on YouTube, available to go watch anytime you want. We will talk to you tomorrow, 11 a.m., right here, Inside the Gamecocks show.